Okay, let's find an inn. We need to rest and heal our wounds.
Sure.
Okay, we'll talk to you. House Harrand Guard. The guard gives you an appraising eye. You've recently come to Deerford, I take it. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road. I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. I haven't seen anyone like that. Same as everyone else in this blaming village. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Harrand at the inn anyway. He'll be grateful for the assistance, and it could be the locals'll open up to you about his daughter's disappearance more than they have us. Okay. If you find Lady Elise, escort her to the Dracogen Inn with all haste. Loading screen. The mill slowly grinds away at a trough of grain. Kinda cool. So that's the mill. Let's get to the inn and skip everything. Just go directly to the inn. Hopefully this will have some good inn music. Hello, Sid.
Hail, traveler.
A redhead stands by the fire, running her lute and plucking its strings. She hums snatches of a melody as she goes. First time at the Dracogen. Normally I'd have sung a song already. I'd have a song ready, but I haven't quite worked out this tune yet. I'm writing some chants about the founding of this inn. Say, you interested in the story? I haven't finished the chants, but I could tell you about it all the same. Perhaps another time.
I just want to find her. Surely even you can understand that.
We're decent folk, my lord. Perhaps you should leave and check the wilds.
Greetings.
The innkeeper digs inside a mug with a dirty rag. His eyes under his thick brows are tired but watchful. He gives you a quick nod as you approach the bar. Don't see many travelers these days. Something I can do for you. What was that exchange with the nobleman about? He looks up from polishing his tankard and glowers at the lord. Folk round here's decent. They mind their own business. You want to stick your nose in it? Go talk to him yourself. Let's see what rooms you have. We'll sleep in the stables. That looks better than his stables. All healed up. Now let's go talk to this lord. Lord Harrand. The man wears a deer-style robe, simple but elegant. His fine leather shoes look like they were made for padding around indoors, yet they're caked with mud. He yanks at a lock of hair twined around his silk-gloved finger. His fine features are etched with anxiety.
My child is out there. Do they not understand?
My lord, we're doing everything we can. Unfortunately, these villagers...
Beasts take them all. I don't care how you do it, but find her.
Your child is missing, I take it?
Yes, Lady Alice, my daughter. I've asked around, but nobody in this mud hole has any concerns beyond their swine. They turn my men away like beggars and seem downright pleased to be of no use. But you're not one of my soldiers. And you look like you're used to getting your hands dirty, if you don't mind my saying so.
My lord, a simple slave. That's right. Gradius is a slave. Was a slave. Harren raises a hand to silence the man. If you find her, he nibbles the thumb of one silk glove. Tell her I won't be upset with her. She can come back and all will be well. I just want to make sure my Alice, my child, is safe. Nothing in this world is more important to me. I'd like to ask you a few questions about your daughter.
Alice, of course.
Describe Lady Alice. She's a striking young woman, bears more resemblance to her mother than to me. She has auburn hair and delicate, well-bred features. She must be, 28 or 29 now. Tell me about her disappearance. We'd stopped in Deerford for a few days. On our fourth evening here, I was making plans to continue our journey. Lady Alice was feeling unwell and went to bed. When I retired a couple hours later, I found that she had vanished. None of my men had seen her go, and no one at the inn knew where she was. Since then, my people have been combing the village, but we've yet to find a clue, and the locals have been no help. Why did you and Alice come to Deerford? It was merely a stop along the way to Aina's Rest. However, she took ill shortly before our arrival, so it seemed prudent to allow her a few days to recover. What's in Aina's Rest? He frowns as if about to protest, but he gives in with a sigh. Lady Alice has reached an age where it is prudent for her to marry, given the legacy business. That's where women have hollow-born children. I can't let her fertile years slip by, nor do I want her womb to fester in the presence of so many hollow-born. There are better roads along the coast. Wouldn't it have been easier to follow them to Aina's Rest? If I thought that, I wouldn't be slogging through the forest, would I? He waves a hand. The main roads are clogged with people fleeing one way or another to try to escape Waidwen's legacy. It would be difficult for a caravan like mine to pass without incident. At the time, it seemed prudent to move quietly along the back roads. Where's the rest of your family? Surely they wouldn't want to miss your daughter's betrothal. Lady Harren is ill-suited for travel, I'm afraid, and unfortunately Alice has few other close relatives. My sister and her husband, Alice's aunt and uncle, of course, have been visiting Adir these past months. He rubs his knuckles. As for siblings, Alice has none. My wife has only given birth to hollow-born, since Alice, that is. I see. Going back to your daughter. Let's go back to my previous questions. I heard you arguing with the innkeeper.
A petty, small-minded man, just like the rest of them around here. I've been paying him an honest fee for board and bed, and yet he can't be bothered to stir himself to concern for my Alice.
This is why I'm hoping you can help. He tugs at a lock of hair again. I should have never trusted these people around my child. Tell me about yourself. No, okay. Alright, tell me about yourself.
I'm Lord Nestor Harren of Defiance Bay. My family has been prominent there since Imperial times. Our primary estate is on the outskirts of Brackenbury, but we have holdings in New Haomar as well. Those went to my sister and her husband.
Goodbye. Search Deerford for information about Alice's disappearance. Step back from the Kickstarter backer. Nefray. The Orlan hovers by the window, peering out of it every few seconds. As you enter the room, she watches you carefully, her hand hovering over her stiletto. She cranes her head to peer behind you. Anyone follow you? Who sent you? Okay, so this is the woman who's accused of killing children because she went crazy after her own Hollowborn. Someone told me you were responsible for heinous killings in Defiance Bay. Let me guess, was that someone named Medreth? She draws her stiletto. It's a lie, plain and simple. I got on the wrong side of his employers and now he's after me. But if you're here to do his dirty work, I won't make it easy on you. Relax, I just want to hear your side of the story. What story? The Dominels came after me. I just happened to rob the wrong place. How was I supposed to know they'd already claimed it? She runs her hands under her hood and through her hair. It was an honest mistake. I'm just trying to survive now, and if you spoke with Medreth, you know where he's waiting. Please help me out of here. Okay. So she's a thief. A thief that tangled with the wrong people. But Medreth lied to us, so we can't forgive that. Go east. Medreth's waiting for you just west of the river. All right, I'm trusting you. Don't have much choice. See if you can send him the other way. That should buy me some more time. She follows the hooded figures toward the stairs, giving you a final uncertain glance as she passes through the door. Direct Medreth away from Nefray. Let's see what else we can rob around here. The painting portrays the expansive foothills below the mountains of White March. Hey, I thought we had lockpicks. Oh man, I gave all the lockpicks to our thief. Great.
You can trust me.
Hello, Kickstarter backers. Let's see if there's anything else to explore around this village. Grieving Mother. Arms and Armory. Apothecary. Let's talk to the apothecary person. Potions for sale.
Hello.
A young woman leans against a wagon. One arm and one side of her face are covered in bandages, with raw, rippled flesh showing underneath. A minty, tangy scent wafts from her dressing. She smiles painfully. I just ventured into town. I'm about dry on some of my stocks, but you're welcome to have a look-see. Actually, I'm looking for a missing noblewoman. Oh, that lord's daughter. She was a new shade of green when I seen her the other morning. Chatting with Trigil, she was, just outside his shop. She points at the crumbling tower. Ah, Trigil. You're talking about morning sickness. Was she pregnant? She sighs. Aye, and worked into a state about it, she was. That girl was so sick she didn't even notice Trigil's stink. I offered her some herbs to take care of the problem. Thought it might save her some trouble with her old man, but she wouldn't have it. What's wrong with her? No offense, but I hardly know you. I'm not one for gossip, and I certainly don't want to cause the poor girl any trouble. That's right, they don't gossip in this town. Lord Harren said she was ill from travel, so he lied to us. That weren't no road sickness. Trust me, I know when I see it. Thanks for the information.
Hello.
She adjusts one of her bandages. Anything else I can do for you? I've got some handy ointments if you're braving the roads anytime soon. You said your supplies are limited. What happened? It's the damn roads. Can't reach none of my suppliers, so I'm stuck with whatever I can scrounge up in the wood. Deer cap, river reed, and the like. That's well and good, but most potions require something stronger too. Troll skin, vessel bone, and what have you. And then there's the really rare ingredients, things you'd never be able to afford, let alone find on your own. What did you find? I've been keeping an eye on a drake's nest east of town at Deerfoot's Crossing. The beast stayed just long enough to lay a clutch of eggs and moved on. Thank the Sky Mother it wasn't a full-grown dragon. She looked at her bandages and arm and grimaces. Fresh eggs are much more useful than the ones that get passed between merchants or left in nests for weeks or more, and that clutch looked to be at its peak. Though I'd see about getting an egg, but I didn't realize so many of them had already hatched, or that young worms were so territorial. I could get that egg for you. She keeps her gaze steady, but you see hope kindling in her eyes and twitching at the corners of her mouth. I sure hope you're not leading me on. I don't think I could stand getting burned again. She bites her lip. If you really mean to go after it, I'd certainly pay you. Just remember, big as they are, dragon eggs are fragile, and there's a lot more I can do with a whole one. How did you get burned? By the flame. How bad does it look? Just say it. I know you tell me straight. It looks like it hurts. That's a mighty soft way of putting it. I told you about my run-in with the worms. I reckon you put the rest together already. What's wrong with the roads? Brigands, looters, you name it. The gods may be hollowing out our babies, but it's grown folk that's rubbing out the rest of us. People are scrambling to Defiance Bay because they hear there's healthy births there, and all those refugees and abandoned homes attract desperate sorts like flies on dog shit. Show me your wares. Sure thing. Maybe we can buy some potion ingredients. These are all fairly expensive. Let's see what we need. What's this? Primal Wind. What's this? Ogre Blood. Binding Copper? Binding Copper? Vareth's Bell? Let's see if we'll buy some binding copper and a worm wing.
Hello.
She don't sell no worm wing. Let's see if what we have to sell to her. hatchet. Fine battle axe. Okay, so we got another quest. Let's see this map. Let's go to the Grieving Mother. What did that say? The woman looks briefly through you as if she doesn't know you're there. Grieving Mother. This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in a brown leather cloth draped down to her knees. Her hands are working at separating stringy, colorless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small, cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure she even knows you're there. Excuse me? The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with a steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, maybe less stern than most, who seems more focused on the weaving in her lap than in her surroundings. Yet you suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing, like many of the townsfolk you've seen. There is a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with threads that lack color, in a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded or deaf, but something feels wrong. As you watch, her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on the woman. Her brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the stream of her locks downward, the hairs become long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver, and wrapping around her hands. She is forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly you are calm. You're on a plateau, almost at the height of a tower, several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath a clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding in all direction, a forest hazy with mist, although whether it is actual mist or distance or recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural arch above you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention, as if looking down on you and the event unfolding before you. The plateau has soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you, and you feel different. You're not disembodied, but you feel your body, your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings. And you hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. At the sound, the scene gains color and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist rolling softly into a sealed chamber. And focus on the chimes. The chime coaxes you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You are on the shore of the plateau, your knees on the warm texture of the ground, silver, white, shimmering like Adra. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists, and your hands. Your hands are in motion. Weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movements of Barath's wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head, turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. The hands you are wearing, inhabiting, have done this many times, and they are practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head emerges a stream of fluid from the womb helping the newborn child slide forth, and a woman's labored breathing crying out. Focus on the child, the movement of your hands. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see where they are coming from, but they are close, and they are meant as a comfort, of that you are certain. Draw the child forth. So we're delivering a child, and coaxed by your hands, every movement causing the chimes to sound again. Almost eagerly the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord from the legs of the naked woman before you. You are holding a small child, still wet from the womb, before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul, the ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling it with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges, as if you are viewing a soul from within a soul, but it is there, it is alive. The woman before you is weeping, and at first cry, her hands reaches out for it. Surrender the child. You surrender the child to her, something you have done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from cords on your wrists, and where once they echoed in the memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound guided by the tender motions of your wrists. You are helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The woman laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotion seems soothed, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. But the child is here, the child is safe, and all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, flattening out as the memory persists. Slowly pull back, retreat from the memory. With effort, the scene bleeds of color, and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, yet the sound of the chimes remain, as they existed in the memory. They sound here as well, and they are hanging from woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrists are sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she is nothing like what you first saw. She is wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her form like streamers. Her hair is streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbled watchtower. As she shifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face like a veil. What you first saw of her was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize what you see is not what the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad to at last be seen. What did you do to me? Who are you?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There's a light touch on your mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motions of the touch, reaching up to the air between you. You hear the chime on her wrist sound, softly. Her hand moves as if pantomiming, resting on your cheek at a distance, and she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm. The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
What happened between us on that plateau memory we shared? Her hand withdraws shyly, the chime sounding softly once again. The woman stands uncertainly, as if she had been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt, yet while her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It is almost a question. You suddenly realize she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her, the image on the plateau, yet the image was so clear, so sharp, you're surprised she didn't feel you there.
See me as a rare gift. A watcher's gift.
I've never been able to do that with a living person, except with you.
So many questions, thoughts, whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. I cannot tell if it is carving new channels, or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
There is a silence, and although it seems to last for but a heartbeat, in your thoughts it stretches out between the two of you like a pull between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and then you realize she wants to ask you a question, yet can't form the words, as if assembling them is painful, or there simply are not enough pieces. Do you wish to travel with me? You feel a wave of fear, gusted with the strength of relief, although oddly her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates and you feel strength and certainty, as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you, and a calm sky looks down upon you. She's a cipher. I think we're going to keep the druid for a while longer. But now we have another party member. And that's all the time we have for this episode, so I'll see you in the next one.